Hi, everybody. Welcome to Call Me Crazy. I'm Erin Mastropietro here with Michael Benatar. And this is a show where we interview entrepreneurs that are disrupting their industry and making a difference. Today's guest is Bill Bookout. He's the president, board chair, and founding member of the National Animal Supplement Council, also known as NASC. And it's the world's leading trade organization representing manufacturers and suppliers of supplements for cats, dogs, and other animals. So, Bill, we're really excited to speak with you today and hear your story. Welcome to Call Me Crazy.
Thank you very much, Erin and Michael. It's a pleasure to be here and happy to speak to your audience.
And yeah, so when we first met, Bill, you had such an interesting story. This company that you are the president and founding member.
Well, tell them how we met. I mean, it sounds like so vague. Like when we met, how did we meet?
So we're part of NASC, Dope Dog,
Yep.
and so we're just getting onboarded with them, and we're becoming going to be regulated as a pet supplements, as a lot of CBD companies are. So I reached out to Bill to hear more about what he started and what it means to be part of NASC. And what I thought was cool was this is your second company, at least. Maybe you started your second company, and
That's right.
What you started first, we'll hear that story. It kind of led you into what this is, which I think is amazing. And you're bringing in so many companies together and making pet food, it's pet supplements safe for all. So if you could maybe give us a little backstory,
Sure.
maybe about your first company and how that got started.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Erin. One of the great things about, being involved with NASC is you meet a lot of great people and get introduced to a lot of great companies like you guys. So I feel very fortunate to, our paths crossed and we look forward to working together for a long time. How I got into this business is I was an executive in the medical device industry. So I was chief operating officer for a $500 million company, but I was raised in Wyoming and I had dogs my whole life. So I had a dog with hip dysplasia, another dog with cancer. And so I had them both successfully treated. I made a career change. I took a slot as CEO for the third largest specialty companion animal referral center in the U.S. And I did that for 3 years. Well, in the course of that experience, cancer comes back second time around on my own dog. And so I work with all these leading board certified oncologists and he's given a very poor prognosis. He was an 11.5-year-old Labrador retriever named Lancelot. It's emotional for me. It comes back like it was yesterday. So anyway, he's given a very poor prognosis, 3 months with chemotherapy. And so I'm looking for help. And I find a veterinarian, formulated some supplements and changed his diet. And he lived 2.5 years, good quality life, which wasn't long enough, but I was thankful for that. Mm-hmm. So out of that experience, it led me to start my own company selling products that are similar to dietary supplements for animals. And I made every mistake you can possibly make, it seemed like. And so I, didn't realize that we're actually regulated at 2 levels, the federal level by FDA and also state levels potentially. And I didn't want to be perceived as selling snake oil. Mm-hmm. So we founded NASC to try to engage the regulatory officials and define a fair, reasonable, responsible path forward. And by responsible, I mean doing the right things and verifying that companies are doing the right things, and that consumers and pet owners who feel about their dogs and cats just as passionately as I did my own dog, could have confidence in the products that they select. And so we have audit verification and quality verification processes, and we operate with really 2 philosophies in NASC: trust but verify, and never assume quality, right? So anyway, it's been a great journey. We were talking before the podcast started. I think I really love people who start businesses and they do it from a position of passion, from the heart. You guys certainly do that. And so again, it's great to meet people and learn a little bit about them and their story and what led them to this business. And for the most part, everybody who is in this business are just great people. And there's an old saying: if your dog doesn't like someone, you probably shouldn't either. So yeah. I really feel fortunate to be involved with the people that we are.
So I have 2 questions. I don't know if you have one, but 2 questions. What did you find that helped your dog live a longer life? And then also, what were the few first steps of getting NASC up and running? Because you make it sound so easy. Like, oh yeah, we started NASC, of course, like obviously. But what were those steps?
That's really a good question. So I always tell people that start businesses, it's Bill's rule of entrepreneurship. It's the rule of 2. Everything is twice as hard. It'll take twice as long. It'll cost twice as much money. It'll be twice of everything. but it'll also be twice the reward, twice the learning experience if you continue to go forward and persevere. And so starting a business, yeah, you're right. It's hard. Everybody doesn't understand that. Everybody wants to live the American dream, start your own business and own your own house. Start your own business is tough, but I think if you do the right things for the right reasons. So, your first question was starting NASC and what led me to do that. And then the second question was, what did I find that really made a difference and helped my dog? Diet is important. Really, if you think about it and step back and think, what we want for our companion animal family members is the same thing we want for ourselves, I think, is we want them to live a long, happy, healthy life to the maximum degree possible, right? So I think our philosophy has always been, a quantity of life without quality of life isn't life, people or animals, right? And so we want to help extend that timeline to the maximum degree possible. And supplements, including products with cannabis derivatives, CBD, can play an important role in that and fulfilling those objectives. But there are no magic bullets out there. So health and wellness for animals, just like health and wellness for people, is holistic with a W. Diet, exercise, environment, supplements. There's a lot of factors that are important. So what did I change? Do I have a magic bullet and that I can say, here's the one thing that I did that made the biggest difference? I think it made a collective difference, but it was a combination of a lot of little things. Supplements were an important component of that. Diet, he always had a loving home, right? I mean, we're animal nut people like you all are. So, his home environment, clean food, clean water, exercise, that was all there. But I changed his diet and the supplements and routine veterinary care. I think those things in combination really maximize the outcome, at least for me, and I think would also help maximize outcome for other people with pets.
How long did you work on the first company that you had before you realized, hey, there needs to be more regulation in this industry? Because like us, we got started, we didn't have a business plan. We just knew we were trying to help our dog James and create a product for him. We didn't really think, you're not thinking ahead like that. You're just trying to figure it out. So was that your experience? And how, I'm curious how that went before you kind of pivoted or...
Yeah, and with any other business plan, I mean, it's only good until the first shot's fired, right? And then it always changes, and that's why it's a very dynamic environment in business, and you can never remain static. You always have to progress. Otherwise, you fall behind because everybody else is progressing around you. So, I started my company in 1999. We sold it in 2012, and this is our company that had the brand of supplements. Genesis Limited was the name of our company. We always started out with the right intent from a quality commitment, quality perspective, and I attribute that to my previous experience in working in a highly regulated industry with drug approvals, device approvals, interfacing with FDA, on those types of topics. So we were on a pretty solid foundation, but what I misassessed was I didn't realize that the animal industry is regulated at a couple different levels, federal level and the state level, and the same guidelines for human products don't apply to animal products. And so in 2001 was really kind of a tipping point for the industry. There was a publicly announced initiative to remove some products from the marketplace with common ingredients that you would recognize, like glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, things like that. And so not only I felt that wasn't right, my own life and livelihood was threatened. So that led us to start NASC. We started with 28 companies that met in a room in Chicago for a couple of days. People asked me, how did you get to be the president of NASC? I said, the answer is I was furthest from the door and didn't wear my tennis shoes that day. That's how. So anyway, truly is an honor to be truly is an honor to be president of NASC. But of the 28 companies that were present at that meeting, 18 of them stuck. And that's how we formed NASC. Interestingly, the 10 companies that didn't stick with the organization, none of them survived.
Oh, wow.
And so I think we looked at the industry and the objectives of all stakeholders, the industry, the regulatory agencies, not least importantly, the animal themselves, retailers, everybody involved, suppliers, supply chain. And when we first started, we had good intentions, passionate about the cause, a warm feeling in our heart, didn't have two nickels to rub together. So it was a real grassroots effort, and it took us quite a while to get up and running and off the ground. But on the public initiative, the regulatory agencies had an announcement they were going to begin removing products from the marketplace. And so I didn't think that was right. I thought it would cause people to self-diagnose, self-treat, buy human products, not from companies that had expertise in this area, that you couldn't call and discuss. Here's my pet, here's how old they are, here's what I'm trying to help with, and get good solid advice. So I didn't think that was a good outcome. And we approached FDA, and I credit the regulatory agencies always with helping contribute to the success of the organization. We have 272 members now. And as you said, we're the largest trade association in the world representing companies for these types of products. Looking back, this is our 20th year anniversary. But without the cooperation of the regulatory agencies, meaning FDA and state regulators and associations like AFCO, we would not be where we are today. So
yeah, and how do you get such big players on board with what you're doing? Like, hey, FDA, follow along. We're going to set these guidelines and you're going to be aligned with us. Like, that's huge.
It is. And if you look at any regulatory agency or any governmental agency, they never have enough resources, right? They never have enough people. They never have enough money. So I think the optimal outcomes, and especially illustrated by the results, and I'll stand on our results accomplished through members like yourselves, that optimal outcomes are achieved when you have regulatory officials working cooperatively and transparently with the industry, because together you can come up with workable solutions that are responsible and meet everybody's objectives. So that the regulatory agencies that are resource constrained can focus their attention on more important issues, like the dog food recalls for aflatoxin that are happening right now, that are in the news, right? That have resulted in unfortunate deaths of a number of animals recently. So anyway, the regulatory agencies actually, I hesitate to say much to my surprise, but when we got up to the upper levels of the Food and Drug Administration and the Center for Veterinary Medicine, they were very receptive. They're very solutions driven, and we're very appreciative not only for their assistance and input, but we're proud of the results that we've been able to achieve together.
And it just, like, I was just thinking about it, how, the FDA's, government run, it's a huge company basically that's trying to regulate so much stuff. And these private companies that can come in like yourself and regulate something at almost a higher standard because that's what you're doing and only doing, I think really matters and helps the industry as a whole, because then you can trust this. And even if it is a private company, it's still, you're out there trying to get the best for everybody. And sometimes it's hard when you are a small company or big company, whatever it is, to actually show all these, stamps of approval and be organic or whatever it is. I think this is super helpful, not just because we're, part of it. I think it's helpful for everything. Like if I'm taking a supplement, I don't think a lot of human supplements are regulated, but when a doctor recommends it or somebody recommends it, you trust them more. And I think building that trust, having an organization like yourself really matters. And I think for all companies too, but I have one more question, just going back. How did you sell your first company? Because, that's a huge question for a lot of entrepreneurs. They get in it, obviously hard work paid off, but not everybody gets to that point to sell. What did that look like for you?
Well, I was fortunate when we had our own company, and I started, was one of the founders and president of NASC beginning in 2002 officially. We incorporated NASC in 2001, but I ran both organizations for from 2002 through 2012 when we received an offer and sold our company. So I think what the NASC really did for me was it elevated my profile in the industry a lot. So most everybody, and I'm not saying this egotistically, I speak pretty routinely on these topics. I'm a trainer for both industry people as well as regulatory agencies. That did not come easily. When we first started NASC, there was a lot of skepticism and hesitation because there's a perception that, well, the industry just wants to avoid regulation and do whatever they want to do. And that really is not the case with NASC members. We want to do the right things right, not have our pathway dictated for us. So proactivity is better than reactivity. So the direct answer to your question, and what facilitated us eventually selling the company, I'm very passionate for NASC. I mean, I there's so many people that know me, and it's not just a job to me. I don't do this for the money. I do it because I believe, and I believe because of people like you.
Yeah.
And it gives me a tremendous amount of satisfaction and gratification to help a company like yours that can make a difference in the lives of literally millions of animals, every single day, through your products, because there's always that return connection with me and my dog when I was looking for help,
Yeah.
So sorry,
No,
No,
we hear
yeah.
that outreach all the time. I mean, these
I wear my
pet
heart on my
parents are
sleeve.
looking for a solution, and we'll try anything, but at that point, they have to make it easier for them to make the right choice and a
Decision.
good choice. Having brands around that support.
And you want to try the right things. You don't want to just try anything. You want to try the right things.
So when you started NASC, when it was going, what were the few things that you guys were trying to figure out as a company, as you were growing? Who were you hiring? Who were you bringing on? And what was kind of the structure to continue that growth? Because that's hard for a lot of companies too, like just that beginning stages.
Yeah, well, we're always a product of we're only as strong as leaders of any business. We're only as strong as the team that pulls our wagon. That's why cross-functional teams work. And I don't have all the answers. We were very fortunate in NASC to have a really solid board of directors that are capable of thinking at higher strategic levels that look 3, 5, 10 years into the future. And so in some cases with any business, luck, there's a luck component to it, right? But I think success is where luck combined with hard work, dedication, achieve that result. So, with NASC, I think surrounding yourself with the right people, both at strategic levels as well as tactical levels, because I'm an MBA guy, and the theme of my MBA thesis was nobody gets paid for planning and intent. We get paid for implementation and results, because at the end of the day, that's how we're judged. So we set milestones. We engaged regulatory officials transparently. If we were behind on an objective, we would tell them that. We would always seek their input. And over probably 5 years, it took us 5 years to establish credibility. But our ultimate intention was, through our audit verification programs, was to influence consumer buying decisions and buying decisions anywhere downstream of the brand. Why? Because product quality is really important. And I think one of the key questions that people should ask is, everybody's got a great product, right? You want to buy a quality product, because quality, meaning consistency in the production processes, means repeatability. So you're going to get the same product that's produced the same way every single time, and it's going to be consistent in terms of quality, which means consistency in the response from the animal, right? And they are our ultimate customers. So anyway, that's kind of just stream of consciousness answering that question.
You mentioned when you first started, glucosamine was like a hot supplement at the time, or they were trying to regulate that. Do you think the quality control that you've implemented then has changed at all now based on the market and how it changed? Because, like, for example, the past 5 years, obviously cannabis is becoming a supplement. Does that change how you regulate as you see new trends in the market, or is there like kind of a line of consistency that you do regardless?
Well, one of the things, that in terms of pursuing quality, right, is quality is always a journey and never a destination. We always know more tomorrow than we knew today, or next week, or next month. So we embrace, and in our membership also, we embrace a system of continuous improvement, a philosophy of continuous improvement. So if people listening to this podcast hear the buzzword kind of CGMPs, that stands for Current Good Manufacturing Practice Standards, because it's always an evolutionary process. We're always having changes and updates to meet the most current standards. So it's a developmental and a process of continuous improvement is the best way I could describe it.
So it's a process, ever-changing process.
So as you started it, what were some of the, like, if you were going to restart NASC today, what were some mistakes that you can look back on and say, okay, this is what I learned from starting the company? Because I think for us, for instance, you know, we've interviewed a lot of people and learned kind of their missteps at the beginning, and obviously you need to learn those steps. But I think hearing from somebody that started a successful company, and what are things that you might have changed just slightly? Obviously, the mistakes happen, but they're okay because obviously you moved on and learned from it. But even for us, we made, you know, tons of mistakes at the beginning. We didn't know anything. We literally didn't know anything. So there's a million mistakes, but they helped us continue to grow. So for everybody listening, what maybe one mistake or something that you would have changed that would have helped you kind of make
that's a really good question. We're all products of our experiences. You know, show me somebody who's failed and I'll show you somebody who's learned. So, you know, and I look back because I was president and founder of two companies basically simultaneously, Genesis and also president of NASC. So I was trying to run two businesses at the same time. There is no question that our brand and Genesis Limited suffered in terms of growth and revenue for me focusing so much of my time and energy on establishing NASC. So could Genesis have been more successful? I don't know. Yes, the answer is yes. However, we have to have the opportunity to be successful. And so maybe the whole business environment would not be what it is today. And so therefore, maybe there would have been obstacles or roadblocks or things that would have derailed that potential success. So on one hand, I sacrificed in our own business. Could I have grown it more, done more top line, done more bottom line, sold it for more money? Maybe. But from the NASC perspective, I look at it as when in one's career do you really have the opportunity to help establish a foundation upon which an industry is built? And that's what we've done. Now, I have not done that. We have collectively done that, right? So again, I have derived a tremendous amount of satisfaction, personally and professionally, from the people I've met, the progress that we've made, the relationships that we've developed over 20 years of being in this business, both with my own company as well as, you know, continuing with NASC.
That's what I love about your story. I think a lot of entrepreneurs do it once, do it twice, sell a company, and then they maybe are advisors or invest in other entrepreneurs to lift them up. And in a way, you've kind of done that as well. But you're still so in it in the industry, but you are helping all, you know, a lot of founders that were in your place. But what was
what were you gonna say?
Oh, so because you know, you're dialed in, you do a lot of guest appearances. Like I was so stoked that you said yes to our podcast. I'm curious how
much we just threw it out to him when we were on a call, like training or something.
Yeah, we're like, Bill, you
come on, Bill.
Would you consider? I think.
We just forced them. Like, you got to come on.
But I know you do a lot of speaking engagements and you're running the company. What percentage of your week or month would you say you dedicate to networking, events, appearances versus like the management?
Because virtual appearances right now.
Well, virtual, I know, but like you're a busy guy, and I'm just curious, like, you know, it's important. Like, how much time do you spend out in the industry, being an industry leader, or is it 100% maybe?
Well, it's interesting because usually when you get a hold of somebody like me in a trade association, you get an attorney or an ex-regulatory person who was in that capacity. I'm a business guy. So I've been in the shoes of the people that we represent. So I think there's a connection there. I've walked in your shoes. I know what it's like to start a business. And anytime I advise people, I always give them advice where we have discussions as if I'm you, it's my money, it's my decision, and I'm taking the risk associated with it. So if I give anybody advice, I say, I'm looking at it as if I were you and if I made the decision, this is what I do. Whether or not you decide to go that direction is up to you. But as far as, so like I got off on a tangent here, Aaron, so reground me.
No, I love the tangents. I love where you go with it. It's very philosophical. What am I trying to say? Philosophical. I'm like, oh yeah, it is. It just, you have so much knowledge and the way you speak about everything. You have so much passion and you understand where, you know, we are, and you also can understand where somebody is that might be 5 years ahead of us, but you still kind of grasp.
Well, it's kind of a secondary benefit. You know, it's a secondary benefit having me involved as the president of a trade association, but also having walked in everybody's shoes and come up, you know, and it helped me a lot at the beginning because people would say, me having my own business, and it was a small company, we had only 4 employees for a long time. And I could always say to anybody, listen, if I can do it, you can do it. So I always walked the plank first, because I didn't want to ask people to do something, try and clear a hurdle that was unreasonable, unrealistic, or a bar too high.
Mhm.
So I think it was real benefit for us and the members, because I always look at it from the perspective of truly the entrepreneur. And in the pet industry, it is, there's a lot of entrepreneurs with passion in this industry. And I really appreciate you using the word passion to describe me. I think that's an honor, and I take it very seriously, because if there's one thing that you could ask me, what do you want to be remembered for? I would say that guy, if people said that guy was passionate about what he did
Mm-hmm.
and the difference we would make, that's what I'd want to be remembered for.
Well, I think you've done a good
Yeah.
job laying that foundation already.
Thank you.
I'm dying
Anyway,
to
for the
ask.
podcast, for you inviting me on the podcast, I'm happy to be here. It's an honor.
Yes.
Because really, I do this because of again, people like you. I mean, hey, if I can help in some small way you achieve and fulfill your objectives, which is helping make the difference in the lives of animals, then I'm very gratified by that.
Yeah,
That's great.
it's inspiring.
Yeah.
So Bill, we have one question we always ask in our podcast. It's the call me crazy question. So when did you do something crazy in your career? Tell us the story.
I think we always say do something crazy. I think it's just anything that somebody might have said.
It's really
is
funny.
crazy.
Every time I usually say, when did someone call you crazy? And then Michael corrects me, but no matter what I say. So
what have I done that not a lot of people know me for, right?
There you go.
Yeah. So something does come to mind, and I'll share that with you. I managed, when I was going to college, to cram 4 years of college into 6 years. And the reason for my extended curriculum was I raced motorcycles for 4 years for American Honda.
Oh, dang.
So from 1978 to 82, I raced motocross for Honda. And I had visions of, I thought I was going to be a, 6-figure factory racer at that time. But, finally but I never did give up on the college thing. Right. So, I raced motocross for Honda for 4 years. I've been a motorcycle enthusiast in my youth. Now I've finally talked myself out of being on anything 2 wheels and a motor in it. I have refrained.
We need you, Bill, on the ground safely.
Yeah. So
how do you still have any, like, just around, like, collecting, like, some of the motorcycles or anything?
I
or
don't.
You don't?
No, I don't. I was always a dirt rider.
Okay.
So never rode on the street. So I was always I was always a dirt racer. I think street bikes are dangerous, not because of the motorcyclists necessarily, because you're just hard to see, because of the cars. And anytime you have a car versus motorcycle encounter, the motorcycle comes out.
That's so true.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for joining the show. It's NASC is it .com or it's something? Is it?
Yeah.
It's
animalsupplements.org or NASC.cc. So NASC Charlie. And people ask me, where'd that come from?
Yeah, where does
it was the only thing available when we originally reserved our web domains in 2001. So
I feel like
CC.com, .org, .net was taken.
Gotta get it.
Yeah, I feel like CC now is like credit card or something. I don't know why.
Yeah.
When I first typed it in, I was like, oh, that's interesting, credit card. Well, everybody check it out. We'll put it on the link at the bottom so everybody can go and check if they're getting into the dog space or already in the dog space and they're thinking about making a supplement. You're the guy that they're going to have to talk to at some point. So definitely do it. Anything else?
No. If anyone has questions, we can, maybe we do a follow-up.
Yeah.
episode.
Even if someone is not an NAC member, I'm happy to speak to them and answer questions, because it doesn't do the industry any good for people to make mistakes.
Sure.
Right? So if anybody has questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And again, I thank you for the opportunity to join the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you coming on,
Bill.
Yeah. Thank